Okay, this assignment's gonna be a small trinket box, and here's where I've sent the directions with you. Here's a template. It's a very tiny trinket box, and here are the directions for what's gonna be going on right now. There's gonna be a bit of scoring, there's gonna be rolling, we have to roll things out. Here's my little template that I've cut out and it's ready. So I quick want to get my clay ready. I got a longer piece that I have ready that I'm actually going to be doing to go around my piece because I want it to be able to fit around the template. So I'm going to quick roll that out really quick like. I like to use these sticks in place, use a rolling pin. I'm not sure how high I want my trinket box. It doesn't have to be real high. Probably want it to fit. Okay, and I don't want it any thinner than these 2 sticks. You can use pencils if you don't have 2 sticks for this. I'm just going to quick cut it straight because it's pretty crooked. Maybe use my stick to get me a straight line here. Okay, so basically right now I'm creating the piece that's going to be going around the trinket box that's going to give it depth. Okay, and maybe I'll put the 2 sticks together to... Maybe that's the thickness I'd want. Maybe you can use a ruler, whatever you have at home. Or you can measure it with a measuring ruler. Okay, so now I've got my height for my trinket box. I still need to quickly cut my base of my trinket box, and it's not really big. It's kind of a small piece. So I don't think I need a lot of clay for this. Maybe a little more than that though. Okay, so I'm just going to take maybe this little piece here and maybe, sometimes I slam things down on the table, sometimes I wedge it a little bit to make sure I'm not going to have air bubbles, because then your piece will not turn out in the kiln. You don't want that. You don't want to do all this work for nothing. Okay, so my piece is ready. I'm going to put my template. This is really a tiny little template. I might add maybe a ½ inch around it, just so I have a little bigger trinket box. But I have to be careful, and you got to remember that there's shrinkage in clay. And I probably should quickly do this so it doesn't take too long. Okay, so I added just a little bit more, to have it a little bit larger. Okay, so my piece is now ready. And it's a nice thickness, so it's not too thin. The next step, it says, is to score around the edge. So I'm going to score around the edge of my little trinket box here. I'm going to do it quickly because I don't want my clay to dry out. I don't like working with dry clay. So you kind of like do an X when you score, you know, you do one direction, then you can do the other. So it looks like you're making a bunch of little X's, if that's what you want to call it. So now I'm going to take this other piece and I'm going to score that, make my little X's. I might go one direction first and then come back and do my other direction. I didn't really measure how long I needed. I just kind of hoped that I'd have it long enough. If not, then you'd probably be in trouble. So you might want to make sure it's going to fit all the way around, and which mine does very nicely, actually. When you're going to add the 2 pieces together, it says to cut it at a diagonal, and you can see where it's fitting quite nicely on my piece. So I'm going to slice that diagonal so that I can put these 2 together. And diagonal is just kind of like a crossing edge of it. Now it also says for that diagonal to score those 2 pieces to put it together. So remember, when I scored, you know, I just said make some X's. Okay, now I'm going to put it together. And I'm also going to start getting it to stick to the bottom. Now, I didn't have to use slip, but I do have slip sitting here just in case, and that's just clay and water. So now I need to start getting this to go together. I want to blend it really nice so that it almost looks like it wasn't even put together. Now another thing that we're going to have on here And I might pull my slip up to the piece. Sometimes I like to pull up rather than pull down to get it to blend. If it starts getting too dry, sometimes I like to just moisten it a little bit with the water, but I don't want it too moist because then it's a little bit harder to get it to adhere. But this is working out pretty good. The next step will be to quickly make a cover for it, and then I usually like to design my stuff. This year I've kind of been using the theme for Minnesota, like I've been making a loon or making a picture of the boundary waters on it, just for fun. But we did an assignment where we drew the boundary waters earlier, so it's kind of still been on my mind. Okay, so I'm going to go inside and I'm going to blend it on the inside. I kind of want everything just to look nice. Try and quickly do this and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm pinching down more on the inside to get my piece to match up. Okay, so then I kind of like to just kind of go around this outside again to make it look nice. And I'll probably work on it a little bit more after I get done making my trinket box. I like to make designs on it, and I can use a pencil or my cutting tool. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to make a cover, and we got to use a template again. Remember I made the last one a little bit large. I kind of think this is a little bit much, this piece, so I'll cut it off a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to move this piece so that I can roll it out and get my template again. Still looks like it's a lot. I'm going to wedge it a little bit, wedge it a little bit more. Sometimes I slam it down depending on what I'm working with or what I'm doing. Okay, so I got the sticks from my depth again. I really like using these sticks. And I do use pencils at home when I don't have sticks because I like the thickness to be the same. Okay, now again I'm just going to take and cut. Remember before I cut it a little bit wide, so I might need to do it a little bit wider this time because of shrinkage. And if you've been working with clay, you'll know it shrinks maybe anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. And if you measure your piece once it's done, and then measure it once it's in the kiln, you can start to understand what's going to be happening with your clay. Okay, so here is my cover, and I use the same template again. I just cut it from this. Okay, I'm going to just kind of smooth off my edges a little bit, see how it fits in here. I have to check and see where my curve is. There's my curve. So my curve was that way, so I'm going to put the, whoa, this top fits quite snug. All right, now the next thing for the top is on the inside, we're going to do a little coil so that when it's all done and dries, that it won't slide off the top. All right, so again, so I'm going to just kind of fit this coil on the inside. I'm going to go in a ways because there's a thickness there. I don't want to have to fight with that. Again, we're scoring, making that little crisscross stuff in here. And now this is a little bit different year this year. I have a lot of students on distance learning, so got to have videos to get the work done. All right, so I'm going to push it down. I'm going to do that diagonal cut again so that the two pieces will adhere together and do a little bit of scoring. Diagonal cut's a good idea. All right, so I'm gonna, and I like to blend this onto my piece rather than just set it. I want it to blend down. So I go around, I push it down a little bit all the way around, maybe push this in a little because remember this is the side where it's gonna be dipping in anyway. Okay, and then I go on the inside and I blend that. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up and show you how I'm blending it to the side so it's not sticking up. And I'm going to want to clean up my edges, maybe using that water and slips kind of nice, but I don't want my cover sticking. You have to look at the bottom again for the curve. So now it fits in fine, there's no overlapping too much, and seems to work pretty good with that pattern. Now the last thing I want to do is I want to put a little, it shows just to do a little knob for the top of the cover. So I'm just going to create a little knob just like it's showing. And I will score and slip again. Remember, you got to score it where you're going to put it, or you don't have to slip. If your clay is dry, you're going to want to slip it. What I mean by slip is just grab some of your stuff and put it on. Don't get rid of all your scoring, but okay, so I'm going to hold it underneath as I put this on because I don't want it, and don't make it too big or else it won't dry and you won't get your piece done. Okay, I'm going to make sure I put my name on the bottom because that's very important, and then I like to have my students measure this before it goes in the kiln so they can measure for shrinkage. When they measure for shrinkage, you just take a piece of paper and draw around the piece. Okay, so I don't have my name on the bottom, so I'm going to quickly, oops, put my name under here. All right, and I want to make sure that it's not sticking, but I do let it dry together. And remember, the last step is I'm going to draw on it. Sometimes I like to use a pencil to draw. Sometimes I like to draw my little designs on it with the tools. When you're doing this, you know, don't push too hard when you're doing your designs, but it's kind of fun to make a design. So the next step I would do is to make a design, and then I'll let it dry.